Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, we're just adjusting this thing. Okay, good morning. Happy Saturday. I must be absolutely out of my mind to be getting up at 7 a.m. Okay, to do a live stream on a day when I should be resting, chilling. But anyway, I've committed to doing these live streams for 30 days. And hi, thanks for joining. So anyway, for those of you that don't know me, my name is June Allen, and I am a racial trauma therapist, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So today I am talking about confidence. Okay, I'm talking about confidence. One of the questions that I had come in my inbox was, how do I deal with imposter syndrome? Morning, Wendy. Hope you're okay. Just where do I get my confidence from and all of that sort of stuff. And obviously, I do have my own feelings about imposter syndrome and how that links to us. So you probably need to go back a few. What live stream did I did where I talked about it? I can't even remember which live stream it was now. I'll have to look back and link it when I've done finished this live stream. But yeah, so I thought today I'll come on and talk about confidence, how to have more confidence, how I built my own confidence as a therapist, and because I think a lot of people do struggle with it for different reasons. And when you are a therapist, or what if, whatever business that you're in, having confidence in what you're doing is really, really important. It's really, really important. So, whether you're a therapist or not, if you're self-employed or not, this live stream is going to be really helpful for you, to help you get an understanding as to, just how to build your own confidence generally. And I'll be sharing some stuff around, I've just done a little bit of a brain dump as to the type of thing. It was actually a really good question, actually, because I was thinking to myself, where do I get my confidence from? So yeah, I've just dumped out a whole list of things that I do. Okay, so the first way that I build my confidence is, you have to be willing. I had to be willing to do things that other people that wouldn't don't want to do. I had to be willing to take risks. I had to be willing to tap into the part of myself that wanted a specific outcome more than the fear, if that makes sense. There's a part of me that's really, really afraid of doing certain things, of taking risk, of being brave, all of that kind of stuff, doing things that other people do. There's a part of me that doesn't want to do any of that. There's a part of me that doesn't want to do any of that. I just want to keep small. I just want to, and I think one of the things that I found really, really helpful actually is understanding that inside of me, inside of all of us, there's an ecosystem of parts, and I think I've talked about this a few times on the live streams. There's an ecosystem of different parts inside all of us, okay, and they all have different needs. They all have different jobs. They all, they've all got different reasons why they want to do certain things, and yeah, they're just there to do different jobs, and so I understand that there's a part of me that's trying to protect me. Okay, there's a part of me that wants to that's trying to protect me. Somebody just left a really rude message on my Facebook, a kind of a sexual message, and it just went. Oh my god, sorry, that's kind of threw me off. I'm not going to tell you what he said, but anyway, yeah, that's kind of thrown me off a bit. Anyway, let me just go back to what I was saying. So there's an ecosystem of parts. There is and there's a part of me that wants to stay small. There's a part of me that's trying to keep me safe from rejection, from maybe people shaming me or whatever. There's that part of me that wants to keep small, but there's also another part of me that knows that wants to move forward, that wants to grow, that wants to try different things, that wants to be adventurous, all of that kind of stuff. So that's the part of me that I try and tap into. That's the part of me that taps into doing that allows me to do the things that other people don't want to do. Okay, that's the part of me that allows me to do the things that other people don't want me to do. All right, so it's the part of me that does the things that other people won't, because I'm focused on, okay, well, what's the outcome? What do I actually want? What do I actually want from my life? What do I want from my private practice? What do I want in terms of serving my clients? And so in order to do that, I have to be visible. And the part of me that's more introverted, that's trying to protect me, okay, the part of me that's trying to protect me from, being harmed or being whatever, I understand that part of me is trying to protect me. So the part of me that wants adventure, that's courageous and all of that, has to basically talk to the part of me that's really scared. It has to talk to the part of me that feels really, really scared. And then in that relationship, then, I have to really calm down that part of me that feels scared. Otherwise I would never do any of this stuff. Getting on and doing these live streams in such a way that's not scripted. I'm just coming on here and just sharing my opinions about things, sharing my personality, just being real. Today I was just like, you know what? Some days, I've just got my tracksuit top on. I'm just coming on as myself. I'm not, it's Saturday morning. I'm not, it would be so easy for me to make 101 excuses why I'm not going to come on and do this live today. But at the end of the day, the point is, am I adding value? Am I going to add value to my audience? Am I going to add value to my clients? Am I keeping the commitment to myself? Okay, that's how you start to build confidence. I'm willing to do what a lot of people don't want to do. A lot of people don't want to do, they're scared to do live streams. They don't want to come on and they don't want to commit to the 30 days because for whatever reason, they don't want to commit to coming on and serving and doing all this stuff because at the moment, a lot of people, maybe they feel scared. Maybe they don't feel confident enough to come on and just do this stuff on the fly. They're not confident enough to do that. But there was a time where I wasn't confident doing it. There was a time where I did not feel confident doing these live streams. I remember the first live stream that I did, actually. It was in my car. It was inside my car, and it was outside. It was outside this building, actually. I remember sitting in front of my car, and I was thinking to myself, "What the hell? I don't even know what the hell I'm doing." I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I had to build up the reps. I had to build up my emotional reps. If you want to get good at something, you have to practice it. You have to keep doing it. This is why doing the 30-day live stream was a really good idea for me. I was doing this stuff once a week. I was doing my lives pretty much once a week anyway. So it's not like I wasn't skilled at doing it. But doing these 30 days has helped me kind of get out of the perfectionism of it and just share more of myself. And I will probably do a live stream at the end of the 30 days that's talked about what I've learned. What I've learned from doing it and all the rest of it. But yeah, it just helps to build emotional reps. It helps to build, help me just to get more confidence in what I'm doing, and how I'm talking, how to feel more comfortable, talking to people just on the fly and sharing myself, being more visible. Yeah, and it kind of helps me help me find my voice as a therapist. It's helped me find my voice even more as a therapist, and it helps me to build a relationship with my audience and stuff as well. And it helps me feels more confident as well in the products and services that I have. The products and services that I have, because I have had people sign up. I have had people start working with me as a result of doing these live streams. So yeah, you have to be willing to do what other people won't do. What are the things that you know that you need to be doing that you're not doing? Okay, because you're scared. That part of you that is afraid of rejection, all of that kind of stuff, that part is keeping you from moving forward. And, obviously that part of you in your internal ecosystem is trying to protect you from something. That's maybe where you need some support. That's why I went and got support. Whether I'm talking to my business coach, whether I'm talking to, my therapist friends, or whether I'm in a recovery meeting or whatever it is, if I know that I need support with something, it means getting help and support from other people. Getting help and support from other people. This is another way that I've built my confidence, is making sure that you're in rooms and you're surrounded by other people that are ahead of you. Okay, surround yourself with people, places and things that are going to elevate your growth. I think sometimes it can be easy, to stay comfortable. It can be easy to stay comfortable. Okay, because you're afraid of moving forward. Maybe you're afraid of being visible again because you think you're going to be rejected or people are not going to listen to you or whatever. But again, you have to build up those reps, and the only way you're going to build up those reps is by being around people that are going to challenge you. You know, my first business coach, you know, she challenged me to do 8 live streams in 8 days. That's when I'd been sober for 8 days, and she said to me, you know, as part of your growth in your business, why don't you just do 8 live streams and talk about your recovery for 8 days? I look back on that now, and that's the reason why I'm here, because I was willing to do that. I was willing to give myself permission to at least try it. And it's about being willing to be vulnerable. You know, it's about being willing to be vulnerable. And I think sometimes a lot of people, you know, vulnerability feels so unsafe for a lot of people. We've been taught, especially as black women, especially as black people, you know, being vulnerable is very difficult for a lot of us, because being vulnerable wasn't safe in the homes that we grew up in. It's not safe, you know, generally. It's not been safe in relationships. You know, we've been surrounded by, or, you know, our experience of relationships have been so painful that we can't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. So the idea of being vulnerable in terms of your growth and stuff like that is often hindered because we have a painful history of what happens to us when we're vulnerable. We get hurt when we're vulnerable. You know, so we then find it difficult to do vulnerable things. So then what we do is we end up just staying where we are. The narrative becomes, or the internal narrative becomes, you know, stay small, don't do anything, don't say anything, don't show up, don't be vulnerable, don't do any of those things because it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be painful. And the thing is as well, what's important and what's helped me actually, it's not always just about the vulnerable thing that's hard. It's not having tools to deal with the vulnerability. That's what makes it even worse, because sometimes it's not just what happens to us, but it's how we're treated, how we treat ourselves and how others treat us as a result of that vulnerability. So let me give you an example. So, you know, if let me give you a really simple example of this. So as a child, you know, if you fall down and hurt yourself, okay, if you fall down and hurt yourself, did you have a parent that would come and give you a hug, that would come and rub your knee, come and kiss your knee, go, oh, never mind, it'll be okay, and you know, you feel a bit, okay, the knee's a little bit sore or whatever, but you had somebody that cared about you that would come and rub the knee and tell you that everything was okay. And internally you go, oh, you know, that person cares about me, so okay, my knee will get better soon because I'm getting hugs from this person. Or were you in a situation where the parent was actually doing the hurting? The parent was actually doing the hurting. So not only were you hurting, but you didn't have anybody to go to kind of help you soothe your knee. You didn't have anyone to go to help you soothe your knee. That's like a secondary trauma on top of the original hurt that you already had, because you don't have anyone to help you. Now, the reason why this story is important is because it sets up a pattern for your relationship to being vulnerable. Vulnerability then becomes something that is totally off the radar. It's off the cards, because not only do you have a pattern of being hurt, but you have a pattern of, well, nobody helps me when I get vulnerable. Nobody helps me when I get vulnerable. And so you just don't want to go near, you don't go anywhere near it. Your internal self then is sort of like, well, I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to do any of that stuff, because my experience of being vulnerable is nobody helps me. Nobody helps me when I'm vulnerable. So that pattern then means that it's very difficult for you to take risks. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining. It's very difficult for you to take risk, and it's very difficult for you to be vulnerable around others, because your experience of it is, well, nobody's going to help me. And that is going to have an impact on your ability to build your confidence reps. Okay? Because in order for you to be confident, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and do things that other people don't want to do. You have to be willing to make mistakes. You know, being confident means you have to be willing to grow, and growth requires vulnerability. This is the reason why having a circle Okay, having a circle of people that you trust, whether it's a therapist or a support group, or recovery, and being in all these recovery meetings that I've gone to over the years has really helped me, because I've got a support system. I've got people that I can phone if I've got stuff going on. I've got people that I can phone, people that I can speak to, people that will give me, that I can unpack stuff with. I have a council of friends. I have a council of people that will, and a structure, and I've got tools that can help me when things are not going well for me. Or if I'm having a little bit of a wobble, or if I'm not feeling confident. I have days where I still have days when I'm not feeling good. I sometimes have days where I think to myself, what the hell am I doing? I still have days like that where I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But it doesn't mean that I'm not a good therapist. It just means I'm having a little bit of a wobble. And as soon as I feel like that, I think, okay, 9 times out of 10, if I'm feeling like that, normally maybe I'm a bit tired. Maybe there's something that I need to learn. So I'll take that as an opportunity to go and get support. Maybe in those moments I need a break. Maybe I need to go and have a break. Maybe my brain is just a bit overwhelmed with stuff that I've been doing and I've taken on too much and I need a break. So I'll go and hang out with friends, or I'll take some time off, or I'll just have a day where I don't speak to anyone. Or when my daughter's gone to school, it's one of the things that I did some this week, actually. When my daughter went to school, and I think I gave the example when I had that moment where I felt grief come up and I just needed to rest. So I don't answer my phone. My daughter's gone to school. I get myself into some comfy gym jams or whatever, and I might watch some stuff. I might watch some catch up on some programs that I haven't been watching. I haven't watched for whatever. Catch up on Love Island or whatever it is, or whatever trash programs that I'm watching, and I just allow myself to be. I've got tools now on how to deal with myself, how to take care of myself when I'm feeling vulnerable. One of the things that happens with this thing about confidence, people can sometimes have a fantasy about what confidence is. They think that confidence is always feeling on top of the world and, yeah, everything's really cool. And, that's not always how it is. Okay? A butterfly, you think about the evolution of a butterfly, yeah? Before it comes out of that cocoon and with the beautiful wings and all the rest of it, inside that cocoon there's mush, there's morning Beverly, thanks for joining. There's loads of things that happen in that cocoon before it comes out as a beautiful butterfly. And that's the same way how confidence works. You see these animals that as well, that there's, has to shed, they have to shed it. You have to keep shedding your skin. You have to be willing to allow yourself to grow, and you have to keep shedding your skin. I think there was a thing that I read the other day. I think it's lobsters. I think it might be lobsters that do this. They grow inside the shell, and sometimes at some point the shell it becomes too tight. It becomes too tight to actually be inside that shell or that skin. It becomes too tight. Yeah. And so that skin has to be shed, and sometimes that shedding that skin is messy sometimes, and sometimes it's bloody. When you're building up your reps, I remember when I first started doing a lot of this stuff, and I was trying a lot of new things, and I was, learning how to set boundaries and all of that kind of stuff, and it's absolutely terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying learning how to, or giving yourself permission to try all of these new things. But the beauty of that is that sometimes without thinking, like, you'll feel like a shift in your thinking. It's hard to articulate, but you'll recognize that there's a shift in your thinking. There's a shift in your perception of things. And sometimes I'll be doing something and you'll be like, oh, something's sort of shifted in my spirit. Something sort of shifted in myself. And it's hard to kind of articulate it, but that something's clunked, something's shifted. There's a click that happens in your spirit. And that's when that something is shifted, and you just get there's a different energy that happens. There's an empowerment thing that happens. There's an internal power, there's an internal click that happens when you start doing all of that stuff. And that's how your confidence gets built, because you're building your reps, you're taking your time to be vulnerable, you're showing up for yourself, you're willing to kind of do all that stuff. You're sharing with other people, you're in spaces with people that are ahead of you. You're in spaces with people that are ahead of you, and sometimes that can be hard, especially if you've got shame. Okay, if you've got shame is probably one of the biggest things. Okay, shame is probably one of the biggest things that is holding a lot of us in bondage around being more confident. And again, like I was saying yesterday, this is how systems of oppression work. Systems of oppression are shame-based systems, meaning that they are going to indoctrinate, dictate. There's a lot of indoctrination and manipulation and all of that to make you believe that you're not good enough. You're not good enough because you're black. You're not good enough because you're a woman. You're not good enough because you're not pretty enough. The standards of humanness. Okay, there's a scale. When we talk about systems of oppression, system of racism, there's a spectrum. Okay, and there's whiteness at one end. If you're white at that end, okay, then the system says that you're human. If you got melanin in your skin, okay, the more melanin you've got in your skin, the more the system deems that you're not human. Okay, you're not human, which means that anybody can treat you any sort of type of way, and you're not worthy. You're not smart. You're not beautiful. You're not all of these things. That you're just not human when it comes to the system. And so when we internalize all of that stuff, okay, we internalize all of the shame. We internalize the shame, yeah, and then then our existence in the world, the way that we behave, the way that we show up in the world, comes from a place of shame. Our experience as a human being then becomes a shame-based experience. So Beverly's saying, what I am finding, and I build my reps amongst the shame. My shadow part means I have to up my self-care, as this confidence and rep can be. Yes, that's a really, really good point, Beverly. And that's what I was saying before about the whole butterfly thing as well. It's bloody. It can be bloody. It's messy. It can be messy, and it is exhausting. It is exhausting. And you 100% have to up your self-care. Thank you for sharing that, Beverly. You have to up your self-care. And this is why community is also important, because when you're doing this stuff on your own, if you don't know what's happening to you, if you don't understand what's happening to you, you're just going to go back to doing what you were doing before. Going back to hiding. Going back to thinking. And what then can happen is then it becomes a cycle of, well, why do I feel this bad about myself? Why does this feel so painful? And you then think there's something wrong with you because you're feeling all of that stuff, because you're feeling exhausted, because you're feeling, you're feeling all the vulnerability about what it means to do the reps and to become more confident. But because you're feeling vulnerable and you're feeling all of this stuff, you then think there's something wrong with it, or you think that you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. And so you just want to go back to doing what you were doing before, which is hiding. And you never build your confidence because you're not doing the reps. Okay, when you're in a group, or when you're working with a therapist, when you're with other people that are doing this work, you've got someone to remind you and to remind you that actually it's okay that you're feeling these things, because you're building your reps. You're building your reps. It's like an athlete, you're building a muscle. In order to build muscle, you have to push weights. You have to push weights. So the confidence that you see that I have now is not something that I got overnight. There was no magic cure. It wasn't just one workshop that I went to that, I did one workshop on confidence and everything's fantastic. It don't work like that. This is years upon years of reps, years upon years of showing up in therapy, years upon years of going to recovery meetings, years upon years of setting boundaries. and understanding that, okay, this is what I'm finding this difficult, and completely asking for help, continuing to ask for help, allowing myself to receive help from others, and sitting with the shame, but wanting to also be compassionate to that part of myself that's feeling ashamed, but also understanding that in order to move through it, I have to also move through the shame, and allow somebody else to hold my hand while I move through the shame. Because shame can't survive when you're speaking. That's the thing about shame. Sometimes people find it difficult to work through their shame because shame hates vulnerability. Shame doesn't want you to show up. Shame doesn't want you to speak. Shame doesn't want you to be yourself. Shame does not want you to be visible. It wants you to shut that F up, okay? And go and hide in the cupboard unless somebody calls you to do something for them. But shame will have you doing all kinds of things that are not good for you because you feel so unworthy. But you have to allow yourself, you have to be willing to do the things, like I said at the top of this live stream, you've got to be willing to do the things that other people don't do. And that means finding spaces that are going to be vulnerable, that allow you to be vulnerable. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this workshop on the 15th of July. Doing the workshop on the 15th of July, and the workshop is about the art of receiving. If you haven't got your tickets already, you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. We're going to be talking about the art of receiving. We're going to be talking about shame. We're going to be talking about why receiving feels so difficult for a lot of people. We're also going to be talking about money trauma and stuff like that, why people find it difficult to receive money. We're going to talk about receiving energy. There are different tools and stuff that I'm going to share with you to help you to start to build those reps around to make it easier for you to start receiving. So Beverly's also saying about bell hooks, talks about the shame. Bell hooks is absolutely amazing. Bell hooks is I love bell hooks work as well. I've done quite a few book clubs now with the ladies in my group. I think we've done 2 books. We've done Sisters of the Yam, and we also did All About Love, which is 2 fantastic books. Bell hooks is if you really want to get going and really understanding about the link between race and feminism and all of that kind of stuff. Bell hooks is amazing for stuff like that. She talks about it from the lens, of being a black woman, and I love her work for the same thing. That stuff is really important. Again, allowing other people. That's one way. That is one really great way of to build your confidence as well. Is reading, allowing other people who have been through stuff to guide you and to share their perspective. So reading bell hooks is a fantastic way to build your confidence, because it's going to allow you to kind of open your mind and start thinking more critically around, what is going on for me. And the thing I love about bell hooks' work, she talks a lot about the intersection of race, class, all that sort of stuff, race, class, gender, all that stuff. She talks about all of that. And what I love about her work is she really gets you to start to unpack and actually, who am I? With all of that going on, actually, who am I? What bits of all the stuff that I've internalized, how much of it is actually me, or how much of it is just what's been indoctrinated into me living inside the system? All this toxic stuff that I think about myself as a black woman, how much of that is what society says is who I am, and how much of that is what my parents said, how much of that is what my friends said, how much of that is actually what I think about myself? What are my actual values? What are your actual values? And this is an important part. This is a crucial part of building your confidence. A lot of us don't feel confident because a lot of our values and our identity is actually based to what's going on externally. Okay, our values are rooted in what's going on externally. So you become a product of who society says you are as a black woman. You become a product of the toxic stuff that you internalize from your family, from your parents, from if you were raised in a home that was abusive, that was neglectful, all of that stuff, you are going to have an internal dialogue that is not good. You're not going to have a good self-concept. You're not going to have a strong concept about who you are as a black woman. So one of the powerful things about doing this work, about being in groups that really support your growth, is really beginning to unpack what actually belongs to me and what belongs to others. And the confidence comes in really beginning to trust yourself a lot more and standing in who you are. Once you start to understand what your needs are, what your boundaries are, how you feel about certain things, you'll start to, with the support of the group or me as a therapist, you start to really think, well, actually, I'm going to take this action. I'm going to take this action because, a lot of the suffering that we experience is because we're out of alignment with who we are. If you think about the ways that you suffer and the things that really cause you pain, it's often because you're out of alignment with your own values. You're out of alignment with it's because you don't know who you are, and you're allowing yourself to be dragged around in your experience as a human being by other people's bullshit. You're allowing yourself to be dragged around by other people's bullshit. I really started to feel more confident when I started saying no to people. That's kind of where it started, and that's all about boundaries. But before I could before I could even start to set boundaries, I had to really start to unpack and really decide for myself, what's mine and what belongs to other people. What is mine and what belongs to other people? What are my core values? What are the things that I really feel passionate about? And this actually helped me be a much more confident therapist, actually. And I know that there's probably people that would say, well, as a therapist, you're really supposed to be like a blank canvas and all of that Freudian bullshit. All of that Freudian stuff. Not that it's bullshit, but for me, okay, that stuff don't work for me. Okay, being a blank canvas and, all of that sort of stuff. And I understand why they're saying it, because they're saying that clients need to come in and be able to share whatever they share. But for me, I find that it doesn't work as well for me, because the reason why clients choose to come and work with me is because I'm sharing my values. I'm sharing my opinion about things, and I'm choosing to work with a specific demographic of people with specific issues. And people will, I suppose, from a, if you think about it from from a white perspective, in that sense, they always like to say, oh, and it's not, it's political, don't bring all that politics. Therapy is political. Let's be clear about that. Okay, everything is political. Everything is political for us because we live under the system of racism. So how can it not be political? People try and say that shit about recovery as well. They used to try and use that stuff. Oh, well, recovery, there's outside issues. Don't bring that stuff into the rooms. I used to hear people say that all the time. White people say that all the time. White people say that all the time. And that's just basically code for shut the F up. We don't want to hear your struggles about race. We don't want to hear your struggles about, the intersection of race, feminism, or they don't want that. That's basically code word for I don't want to hear all of that. That's code for you're making me uncomfortable with my whiteness, so please don't talk about that. That's what that is. So Beverly's saying, what I like about you is that you show up as your whole self. It allows me as I see and hear it. It strengthens me. Thank you for filling my cup. Oh, you're so welcome, Beverly. And that, you saying that is the reason why I do what I do. Okay? You saying that is the whole point, and it means that what I'm doing makes sense. Because I do bring my whole self. I do bring my whole self to the table. And for me, that's an important part. And for me, it's also about, people need to know where I stand. I want people to understand where I stand on this thing. And that, again, that's why I'm so passionate, how the passion comes through. And when I'm talking about this stuff, when I'm talking about my work, when I'm talking about working with black women, when I'm talking about race, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm not a cookie cutter therapist. I've said that over and over. I'm not a cookie cutter therapist where I talk about, every single thing and I work with everybody, and I'm just a generic therapist. And so there's a lot of those therapists out there already. There's a lot of therapists out there that are doing that already, and people might argue and say, well, if you niche down too much, then maybe I'm limiting who I can work with and all that sort of stuff. And I get that. But for me, it was important to have an identity as a therapist so that my clients would know exactly how I can serve them. That's what it is. And I think, that's part of the whitewashing, I think, sometimes as well. That's part of the whitewashing in that, not really being clear about how I serve and who I'm serving. And if you think about the reasons why you do certain things, why you join groups, why you choose a therapist, why you do anything. If you think about why you buy certain things, there's a reason why you spend your money doing certain things. It's because you identify, if you're going to choose to go and work with someone, or you're going to buy, it can be anything. If you think about the food that you spend when you go to a supermarket, you buy a certain brand because there's something about that brand that appeals to you. There's something about that brand that actually speaks to you. That's why you have a relationship with that particular thing. Okay? And for me, if I really want to speak to my people, I have to talk to them in a language that they understand. So when you start doing the same thing, when you start speaking to your audience, okay, in a language that they understand, when you show up as your full self, you are going to attract the same sort of people. And with that confidence comes your audience. You are going to attract people that are going to want to come and work with you, because you're very clear about who you're talking to. And that's how I've become more confident. I've become more confident because I know myself. When I think about back in the days when I wasn't confident, when I felt a lot of shame, when I didn't know what I was doing and all the rest of it. This is before I started doing any of these live streams or whatever. The reason why I felt all of that is because I didn't know who I was. Nobody told me that it was okay for me to be myself. Okay? I would get beaten. Okay? I would get beaten and abused for wanting to be myself. Okay? I would get abused for wanting to be myself. I would get abused for speaking up. That's why I wasn't confident, because being myself, and that's how the system operates as well. That's how the system operates. Whether we're talking about family of origin stuff or whether we're talking about systemic stuff, okay? The system or your family of origin, if it's toxic and whatnot, they don't want you to be yourself, because the whole point of systems of oppression is you need to be controlled. In order for us to control you, you need to shut up. You need to keep quiet. You need to keep small. Don't be visible. And you can't be confident if all of that's going on. You can't be confident if all of that stuff is going on, because because what happens is then you're always in survival mode. You're in survival mode, and survival mode means that you need to keep quiet. So Sky Palace is saying it's okay to be yourself. You're inspiring me. And UK Coach Leader is, when the student is ready, this teacher repeat. Absolutely, and it was the same for me. It was the same for me. And this is why I'm saying to you, make sure. Do an audit. I said in the other live stream, do an audit on your circle. What are the spaces that you're in at the moment that's making you feel empowered? Who are you listening to on social media? Who are you following on social media? Who do you hang out with? Who's in your circle? Who supports you? Where are you being nurtured? What books are you reading? What music do you listen to? What music are you listening to? And if those people, places or things, okay, are not empowering you to be yourself, okay, you're not going to grow, and you're not going to be confident. So Wendy's saying, after vocalizing to my highly religious mother my disentanglement from the indoctrination and my grandmother's religion, my confidence and growth has soared. Listen. Okay, I'm going to say some stuff now. Thank you for sharing that, Wendy. I'm going to share some things now that might piss some people off. Okay, it might piss some people off, but I'm saying this because it's important. Okay, I too was raised in a home that was very religious, and I think that this whole idea of religion and us as a community, okay, that's a conversation that I think a lot of black people are not ready to have. Because there's been a lot of spiritual, under the systems of oppression, religion, under the system of racism, religion is one of the things, okay, that has been controlling black people for 500 years, and a lot of us don't want to have that conversation. They don't want to give up. They don't want to give up that conversation. They're not willing to have the conversation around how religion has been weaponized as a form of control. You know, I grew up in a home where there was pictures of white Jesus everywhere. And I'm sure a lot of you will, and this is not an attack on people that are Christian, okay? Because at the end of the day, people have to align with their spirituality as they see fit, and it's there. And I don't want to be disrespectful to people that are Christians, okay? However, Christianity has been weaponized, okay? And the Ku Klux Klan now claim themselves as Christian. Okay, the Ku Klux Klan claim themselves as a Christian organization. Okay, there's a reason why our ancestors that were enslaved on the plantations, okay, there's a reason why they were allowed to keep their Bibles. There was a reason why that part of the whole Christian thing was given to our ancestors. Why do you think that they allowed us to they allowed them to keep all of that but took everything else? They took our names, they took our hair, they took everything. But they allowed us to keep the religion. Why do you think that is? Because enmeshed with all of that is a way that we are being controlled. So Beverly's saying, preach white Jesus, and I used to think, but never dare ask, how do you know Jesus was white? Exactly. And people don't want to have, people are afraid to have that conversation. And that's an important part of doing this work. Okay? Is exploring what spirituality means for you, and how this whole idea of how religious imagery and white Jesus has been used as a form of control. And again, this is another thing this has been a crucial part for me in terms of my my confidence. You know, somebody also saying Christianity is part of colonialism. Absolutely, it's mind control. It is mind control, and people are scared to have that conversation. I know for a fact that when I was a child, and this came out when I was doing my work, not so much in therapy, but in recovery, because recovery is a spiritual program. Okay, they talk about God, you know, God or whatever. It's not a religious program; it's a spiritual program. So they always say that, you know, you connect with a higher power of your understanding. Okay, you connect to the higher power of your understanding. So it doesn't matter what how you identify with your spirituality. You know, as long as you have a higher power at some level, then you know that's work. But I've always struggled with that, and it's because of that conversation around white Jesus. When I was a child, I used to think that God hated black people. I used to think that God hated black people because, you know, all of the images that I saw about God was white. If you go on TV, if you look on TV, or even if you Google Jesus or God or whatever, it's just loads of images of white people. You know, the one with the white, the blue eyes and the straight hair and the lily white skin and all that sort of bullshit. You know, it's all about indoctrination. And if you go to Revelation, okay, the book of Revelation even says that Jesus had you know, hair like wool and feet the colour of burnt brass. I can't remember the Revelation scripture off the top of my head. But it talks about it talks about you know, Jesus having hair like wool and feet like burnt brass. Tell me how many white people have got hair like wool. How many white people have got the feet the color of burnt brass? This is in Revelation, but people don't want to have that conversation. Okay, people don't want to have that conversation. So Wendy's saying church, prison, education systems are all meant to keep us in line. Remember the Good Times episode with the wino used to portray black. I never used to watch Good Times, but I remember there were. I think if it's the program that I'm thinking of, I remember there was an episode where they had there was a white Jesus on the wall or something like that. If it's the program that I'm thinking of, but people don't. This is all very subtle. This is all very, very subtle. And so as a child, if I'm thinking that Jesus is white, okay, and how black people have been suffering all of this time, and you know, what I internalize is that, well, black people deserve to suffer. And I actually thought that the reason why black people behave the way they behave, the reason why black people are violent, the reason why black people behave the way they behave and act out is because of our blackness. That's what I used to think when I was little. The reason why I experienced violence, the reason why I couldn't trust, why I felt so unsafe around black people, is because I thought that it's the melanin in our skin that made us behave the way we behave. That's what I used to think. And it's only from doing this work, doing my own therapy work, doing my recovery work, doing all that, that I really start to have more questions around, and I start to unpack it. Decolonizing spirituality. That's what it is. Decolonizing spirituality. And let's not forget as well that even now in a lot of religions, they demonize African spirituality. That's by design. They demonize African spirituality. So and again, it's all about making us be disconnected from ourselves. It's all about making us disconnected from ourselves. They don't want you to know that you are sacred. Okay? They don't want you to know that you are sacred. Now, the stuff that I've done now, I've been doing a lot more work around my spirituality, I would say, over the last year. You know, I've been exploring, I've gone right back to basics, you know, and exploring things like, you know, my art. The principles of my art. I've talked about that. I've talked about that before on some previous live streams. The principles of the 7 principles of my art. Okay, reading and using those seven principles as a way to live my life. And to me, those 7 principles, I've even got a thing on my wall with the 7 principles. Okay, let me read the 7 principles of my art. It's truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, and propriety. Okay, truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, and propriety. Okay, so those 7 principles are the 7 principles that I live by. Doesn't matter it can be applied to anything. Family, work, relationships. It can be applied to all of those things. And these things are thousands of years. These are our ancestors in Africa, in ancient Egypt. These are the principles that they live by. The principles of my art. Those 10 commandments that they're talking to you about in religion, okay? Those 10 commandments they're talking about in religion, they come from our ancestors. Hi, Auntie Chi. Thanks for joining. I forgot love. Yeah, love is all part of that. Love is all embroiled in all of that. You know, the root of all of those things are, they come from love. They all come from love. You know, but it's so important when we're talking about confidence to think about spirituality. And here's the biggest trick. Okay, here's the biggest trick that has systems of oppression have like destroyed our confidence. Okay, it's making us think that higher power, higher self, God's self is external. That God and whatever is a white man on a cloud somewhere, external, and that we are unworthy and wretched and all of that kind of stuff, and sinful, we're full of sin and all this sort of stuff, and that everything, in order to get that, in order for us to be good people, okay, we need to somehow feel, connect with this thing that's outside of us. And what I've learned from reading and just exploring my relationship with spirituality is that actually we have a sacred self inside of us. There's a sacred part of us that is a cup of a cup of your higher power. There's a sacred part of you inside. And the reason why a lot of us don't feel confident is because we're disconnected from that part of ourselves. Systems of oppression, trauma, all of that stuff has disconnected us from that part of ourselves, and there's a whole load of rubble on top of that part of us that is sacred. So we don't know who we are. We're disconnected from that part of ourselves that is absolutely precious, worthy, sacred. A lot of us are disconnected from that part of ourselves. And so we don't feel confident in who we are. So we end up looking for other things externally. We're looking for people, we're looking for people in relationships to make us feel good about ourselves. We might go and smoke and drink and do drugs because we think that external thing is going to make me feel good about myself. Okay? Thank you for sharing that, Wendy. Yes, it's that Nete spirit equals God. Exactly. These are all things that I'm still researching a lot of it. I'm still understanding a lot of it. A lot of it I don't understand. A lot of it I'm still learning. This is all part of the growth. These are all the things that are important part of building your confidence, and how I'm building my confidence, continuing to build my confidence. It's understanding that there's the humanness part and there's also the spiritual part, which is not external. It's internal. Reconnecting to that part of yourself that is so sacred. That is so sacred. And that's when things will start to change, when you start to really connect with that part of yourself. And not allowing yourself to be manipulated and lied to about white Jesus. These images that they have all over the place, that whiteness is, and what it does, it actually creates an image, it creates a mindset where you think somehow whiteness there's an elevation of whiteness when you see these images of white Jesus. Okay, so Beverly's also saying that's why for me getting out into nature regularly and annual solo retreat grounds me from the foolishness and maintains my strength and confidence. So Auntie Cheese also saying the physical and the spiritual are one. Absolutely. And this and actually it's actually really simple. Hearing you talk, Beverly, you talk about going out in nature. That is one of the simplest ways that you can go out in, that you can connect with your spirituality or connect with your sacred self, your inner sacred self, your core sacred self, is to go out in nature. This is why so many black and indigenous groups, that we have so much respect for nature. Their core beliefs are to have so much respect for nature, because they understand at a core level that the universe and that nature and all of that is God. The physical and the spiritual are one. We're not separate from nature. We are part of the whole we are part of the universe. But that separation that we have means that we don't respect nature. We don't understand the power that it has. And so allowing yourself to be reconnected to nature, start there. If you feel disconnected from your sacred self, if you feel disconnected from your spirituality, if you are that person that was raised in an environment that was really highly religious with all of that dogma and all of that stuff, just get back into nature. Go back to nature. You'll find just doing that one simple thing and doing it regularly, it will change your perspective on so many things. You know, so Sky Palace is saying yes, the elevation of whiteness is so insipid. It needs breaking down. It absolutely needs breaking down. It absolutely needs breaking down. But that's how the system operates. That's how the system maintains control. The system of whiteness wants you to elevate them, to elevate the whole system, so that the system maintains itself. The system is going to maintain itself by not just by what white people are indoctrinated to think about themselves, but also how we think about whiteness and how we think about ourselves. Just like how whiteness elevates itself to this place of, you know, supremacy and all the rest of it. I'm better than everybody else. I'm smarter than everybody else. I have power, all that sort of stuff. Black people also has to continue to think, or people of color also have to think, you know, that they're not worthy of anything. That I'm not good enough. So when you think about your relationship to your confidence, your relationship to yourself, it's important to think about, again, what have I indoctrinated from somebody else? What have I indoctrinated from somebody else? Okay, so Michelle's saying, well said, June. I try to do grounding in nature a lot more, and beginning to feel better is so important. I think people underestimate how powerful it is just to go and be out in nature. People underestimate how powerful it is to go and do that. And I think that, again, you know, being inside all the time, constantly grinding, you know, these systems of oppression want to distract us from these things. They want us to think that it's complicated, and it don't have to be that complicated. When you start to go outside and just be with the trees and be with nature and all the rest of it, you know, yes, you might go through a period where you're starting to feel things and experience things. It might be difficult at first because you're being more present. And what happens when you start being more present is that all of your feelings and stuff are going to come up. You know, again, this is why it's important to have a community, have a group, have a therapist who can help you unpack this stuff, to help you understand why you're feeling and thinking the way that you're thinking. Yeah, so it's important to do that. So it's important to go within, because you will start, when you start to go within. This is the difference between solitude and hiding. Okay, this is the difference between solitude and hiding. Okay, solitude is about really appreciating the silence and the quietness, and actually allowing yourself to explore what's going on and being curious. That's what solitude is. Okay, when you're hiding, obviously you're avoiding. You're avoiding when you're on your own, and you're hiding. You're trying to hide from the world because it doesn't feel safe for you. Solitude is an invitation. You're inviting yourself to just go within. You're inviting the parts of you to come up so that you can listen. Yeah? So Beverly's saying, you may think this is strange, but I get the biggest download of ideas when in nature, but have to do this work. Listen, that's not strange at all. That's not strange at all. That makes perfectly good sense. That's your sacred self, your spiritual self, feeling comfortable. Because when you're in nature, you ain't got all the rubble. You ain't got all the rubble and the bullshit around you. You ain't got all of the expectations of other people trying to tell you to do things and do that and be this and be that. You're just with your God. You're with your godlike self when you're in nature. I'm the same. When I go into that's the irony about being creative. Yeah, that's the irony about being creative. You go away somewhere to rest. This is why retreats and stuff like that are really important. You go away on a retreat and you go, oh, I'm going to rest. I'm not going to do any work or whatever. But sometimes, I get my biggest downloads as well when I'm out in nature. I often get them as well when I'm in the shower. Because it's a time where, water is very healing. When I'm in the bath, when I'm sitting in the Epsom salt bath chilling, I'll go, oh. The reason for that is because you're connected to your sacred self. The sacred part of yourself becomes you clearing away the rubble, and that your God self comes up, and your creativity starts to flourish. That's how it works. And it's okay to do that stuff alone sometimes, to have it. But then what you do then is then you can take that to your support system. You can take that to your support system and allow them to help you nourish it, to help you seed it. That's where the seeding comes in. You got another thing that builds your confidence is knowing what season you're in. Okay, knowing what season you're in. There's a time for solitude. There's a time for community. There's a time for digging deep. There's a time for just allowing your whatever's going on for you to settle. It's not healthy to always be on the grind all the time. Always be processing. Always be digging. If you think about any garden, there's a season for everything. There'll be a rainy season when things need more watering. There's a time for you to be sowing seeds for what's going on for you in terms of your healing journey. There's a time when you need to be around other people to help to water you and nurture you. There's a time when you need to do weeding. There's a time when you need to do pruning. Okay? There's a time when you need to do pruning. It's about you understanding what season you are in. Okay? So because your needs are going to be different. Your needs are going to be different depending on what season you're in. Okay? You can't be sowing seeds at the same time as you're harvesting, because they were not to harvest. You know, they were not to harvest. So Wendy's saying one of the reasons I love to listen to Sizzler's music is his open rejection of white supremacy and the adoption of black supremacy, which black folk are afraid to claim, thinking it means the same. So here's the thing. You know, there is for me, it's the word supremacy that may well confuse people. Okay, so for me, it's not. People might interpret black supremacy is, well, I want to be in the same. I want to do the same as what white supremacy is doing, which is dominating other people. You know, and even hearing those two words together, black supremacy, white supremacy, it's like, well, do black people really want to do the same thing as white people? No, we don't. It's about empowerment. It's about community. It's about realigning ourselves to, you know, to the principles of our ancestors, and allowing ourselves. All of us just want to live peacefully. That's what it is. All of us just want to live peacefully. Okay, we want to live peacefully in alignment with the principles of our ancestors, and allowing ourselves to be who we need to be without actually harming other people. And I think that music is a really powerful way for us to do that. And as black people, and I think that's why so many of us have done some absolutely beautiful music, because of the struggles that we've been going through and what we're learning and all of that kind of stuff, you know. So I love that. I love that for us, you know. But for me, I always have a bit of, I mean, even just seeing those two names together, you know, black supremacy, white supremacy, that's the image that I have in my head, that, you know, that black people are trying to get to the level of, like, white supremacy is somehow, what's the word I'm looking for? White supremacy is somehow the standard for, you know, we're somehow trying to get, I don't know if I'm making sense. So, yeah, I think it's about just really being clear about, you know, what does black supremacy mean? What does that mean for you? You know, what does that really mean for you? And being clear about what that means, because when you say those two words together, what I feel is that, you know, the black supremacy is wants to come to on the same level as white supremacy, but just black people dominating other people the same way, and we need to be careful of that. You know, we need to be careful of that, and it's like you said, you know, it's not the same thing. What I'm hearing is that actually what I'm understanding, it's not the same thing, but I think having those two words together in that same sentence, it feels like the same thing, because it's the word supremacy implies power over somebody else. You know, so I think it's important to remember that, and words are powerful. You know, words are powerful. You know, so Beverly's saying, I'm in the season of transformation. Again, it's always transformation. You know, it's always transformation. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. There's a cycle. You know, it's a cycle. So Wendy's saying, hearing the words in between are what makes it clear. being in tune with nature and everything else. You are saying the thing is about black women's confidence and the system believing its aggression is often like walking a tightrope. Yeah, it absolutely is. And this is the thing about black women and confidence as well, because the system would always want us to shut up. Okay, so when a black woman is confident, oh, she's being aggressive. When a black woman is confident, it's always, oh, she's being aggressive. She's got an attitude, all the rest of it. But they don't say that to white women. They're saying the same thing. They don't say that to white women. We're saying the same thing. They don't. Again, it's about really understanding how the system chooses to silence us. And this is the whole thing, is sometimes you need to be saying things. Sometimes you need to say things, okay, in order to change the trajectory of the situation, okay? And sometimes, okay, sometimes it's about asking yourself, well, is this space actually really safe for me to do that? Is this space really safe for me to say these things? Sometimes we need to be in our community spaces and not to say all this trying to change white people's attitude, because a lot of time they ain't got the listening. That's another thing that's helped me build my confidence, is accepting that some folk don't have the listening for what you want to say. So you just keep your mouth quiet, not because you're silencing yourself, but because it's unsafe for you to talk about it. Okay, so Wendy's saying we're extra. You know what? I kind of love I love the extraness. And I was sharing in one of the live streams the other day. And so funny, I got a message from Beverly about that. About the whole feistiness about being Jamaican. The feistiness about being Jamaican. You know, there's a feistiness that comes with black women. The sass that comes with black women. And, I think some of it is because we've had to be. It's a survival thing. You know, some of it is because that's kind of what that's kind of what's kept us. That's what's kept us safe. But also it's a part of our creativity. And I love that for us. You know, the fact that we can do what we want with our hair, and the fact that we snap up, and a lot of that kind of that extraness, that sass that we have. A lot of people love all that. Look at how people a lot of people in the gay community behave. A lot of that's come from black women. It's come from us. All of that sassiness and the nails and all of that sass, it comes from us. It comes for us, and I love that for us. I love that for us. But it's really about us. It's about us really reclaiming what's ours, and again, really being clear about what our values are, and all of that. So Beverly said, I love it. I feel it. I feel it, and I gain strength from it. Yes, black to black. Yeah, that's how we regain our strength. That's how we regain our strength. Okay, so let me just look at my list. I'm conscious I've been on here over an hour. So I just want to think if there's anything else, okay, to build your confidence. I think I've covered everything. I've covered everything on here. But it's really about, I don't know if anyone else got any other questions. If anybody else got any other questions about confidence that you want me to answer. So, the bottom line about all of this, is just to keep doing your work. Keep doing your internal work. Keep being curious. Okay? Be curious about the things that are stopping you being confident. Okay? Be curious about that internal dialogue. Be curious about the different parts of you that are trying to silence you, what they're trying to protect you from. Be curious about the part of you that has internalized all the oppression that you've been exposed to over the years, because all of us will have an internal oppressor. Okay? That all of us is going to have an internal oppressor, a part of you that kind of identifies with systems of oppression, with whiteness, and that what it's going to tell you to keep your mouth shut, and that you don't deserve to have nice things, and that you're too this, or you're too that, you're too much, you're too this, that, and the other. People are going to say all of that. There's a part of you that is going to internalize with the oppressor. Okay, but what's really, really important is that you understand that there is a part of you that thinks those things, and to actually understand your relationship to that part. Are you allowing that relationship to that part to have a voice? Are the choices that you make dominated by that part of yourself, or are you actually saying to that part, actually, I know why you're saying all that stuff to me, actually, and I understand that you believe this because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, but that's not you need to take a back seat. You need to take a back seat and allow the sacred part of you, your core self, your sacred self, your God self, your goddess self. Therapy and doing this work and building your confidence is about clearing away the rubble so that you can have a really sacred part. That sacred part of you can come forward. Okay, that sacred part of you can come forward and grow and blossom and all of that. Okay, all of that is such an important part of doing this work so that you can really be more confident. And being confident doesn't mean that you sometimes are going to feel anxious. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel scared. Confidence is embracing all of the different parts of yourself. Confidence is about embracing all of the different parts of yourself. Okay? So that you can, that you can have a different relationship with all different parts. You can have a different relationship with the parts that are vulnerable, the parts that are scared, the parts that are fearful, the parts that feel ashamed. When you're confident in yourself, you have more acceptance about all of those different parts, and you accept those different parts by changing the relationship that you have with those parts. Confidence means that you befriend those parts of you that want to hide, that are scared, and all the rest of it. You befriend those parts and allow those parts to have a voice, because the whole thing is about integrating and accepting all of those different parts. The trouble comes and the suffering comes when you feel like you have to hide those parts, or you hate those parts. Yeah, when you have an abusive relationship with those parts, maybe you say mean things to those parts. When a vulnerable part comes up, you tell it to shut up. That you say mean things to it. When you do all of that stuff, okay, there's always going to be suffering. There's always going to be internal suffering. And you shift that by befriending those parts and changing the relationship. That's how you do it. And that's how I've done it. That's how I've done it. And that's how I continue to build my confidence, by, learning more about myself, learning more about who I am, learning more about my values, being clear about my values. And the thing is about having your values is once you're clear about what they are, it's a lot easier for you to stand up in the world and be yourself. It's a lot easier to stand up in the world and be yourself. So Beverly's saying, how to befriend those vulnerable parts is my nemesis. Kill the Jaffa cakes. See how I would work with that part is that part. There's a part of you that is very vulnerable. Okay, doesn't feel quite safe yet. Okay, in order to talk. So the Jaffa cakes is a part of you that's trying to self-soothe that part. Okay, you using food. Okay, you're using food to self-soothe the vulnerable part. And this is the work that we'll do. This is the work. This is the work. Okay, is teaching you how to allow that part of you that's vulnerable without overeating. I hope that makes sense. So that's what it would do. It will help you. It will help you to understand and be compassionate to the part of you that wants to talk, without feeling the part of you that's giving you that wants to eat the Jaffa cakes and wants to give you the Jaffa cakes is, in a way, is trying to protect you. It's trying to self-soothe you. It's trying to protect you. Okay, it's trying to protect you from the pain that the vulnerable part is feeling. It wants to give you the Jaffa cake. So don't see it as a negative thing. Because the work within that context is to help you understand the part of you that wants to give you the Jaffa cakes. Okay, understand that part, the role that part is trying to play, and to find a way to let the vulnerable, make it safe enough for the vulnerable part to have a voice. Okay, I would first work with the part of you that wants to, that's giving you the Jaffa cakes. I wouldn't deal with the vulnerable bit first. I would deal with the part of you that's holding the Jaffa cakes to give you. because that part of you is trying to is trying to self-soothe you in the way that it knows best. So I would first start by talking to that part of you with the Jaffa Cakes. Does that make sense? So it's a much more compassionate way of looking at or understanding the different parts of you, rather than demonizing the part of you that's holding the Jaffa Cakes. Does that make sense? So you start to integrate and be more compassionate with all of those different parts. Does that make sense, Beverly? So that's how I kind of work that's how I work with those different parts. So it's a much more compassionate, much more loving way to deal with things. It's a much more compassionate way to deal with things. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope that you've just listening to this live stream today has allowed you to be a lot more confident, has allowed you to or to think about your confidence in a different way, and and to really understand and have some acceptance around, it's not easy. It's not a simple thing. It's not a simple thing, and that it's important for you to get support. When you're building your confidence, that it's not a straight line. It's not a straight line going from one place to the next. It's actually about building. It's about building your confidence in a different way. It's about building your confidence in a way that sometimes requires stuff that you to do on your own, and sometimes stuff that you need to do in community. Yeah, sometimes you do stuff on your own, and sometimes you do stuff in community. Both are just as important. And giving yourself some grace, knowing that it isn't just a straight line, and it's not just, be more confident. It's not just something that you need to say. It's a complex process, and it's different for different people, because there are different reasons why people aren't confident. But as a community, as a people, as black women, we have a lot to unpack. There's a lot of stuff that we need to decolonize and unpack, especially when it comes to all of the stuff around spirituality. But if there's one thing that you take from this live stream today, is understanding that and owning the fact that you are sacred. Be willing to explore your own sacredness. Go away and write about it after this live stream. Who is my sacred self? And what are the things, what is the rubble that is keeping you from your sacred self? What are the beliefs that you've internalized from society or your family, or from, challenging relationships, or whatever it is? What is all of the rubble that is keeping you from your sacred self? Because you are sacred. Whether you want to accept it or not, you are sacred. I don't know why I'm feeling emotional just saying that, but you are sacred. You're sacred goddesses, and you just don't know it. You just don't know it. Or you've forgotten. You've forgotten, because it's always been there. It's not a new thing. Your sacredness is part of being human, but you've just been, we've just been caught up under the rubble of oppression. You've been caught up under the rubble of oppression. So it's about finding your way back home to yourself, finding your way back home to your sacred self. If you're interested in doing more of this work, in connecting and doing more of this stuff, and you haven't done so already, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. You can there's my workshop that's coming up on the 15th of July, where we will, sorry, I'm getting quite, why am I getting so emotional? And then I saw Michelle's message. Thank you, Michelle. She said, I love you so much, June. Feeling really touched by your words. Listen, I'm here to serve. You know what I mean? I love what I do. I love what I do. And thank you so much for being with me on this journey, on this road. It's sacred work. It's sacred work. And it's important for me to share this stuff, because I know that it's needed. I know that it's really needed. So, you can join with me on the 15th of July for my workshop, The Art of Receiving, or you can work with me one-on-one. I still have spaces for that. If you also want to work with me into from a if you're a student therapist and you want to you know you need support, you're thinking about going into private practice, you can also there's a link there as well where you can join me to I'm thinking about doing a business school, a black business school, for student therapists, where you can learn and understand, and we'll probably include coaches and service providers and stuff as well. But yeah, just register your interest. If there's enough people that are interested, then I'm definitely gonna do this business school. So click the link in my bio and you can sign up there. If you've got any other questions, today was day 22, I believe, of the 30 live streams. If you've got any other comments or anything that you want me to talk about over the next few days, then let me know. Please let me know. You can drop me a note in the comments, you can DM me, or you can email me info@guideofgreatness.com. Have an amazing weekend, everybody, and I will see you next time. All right, take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.